Hey there, my friend. I wanted to welcome you back. In the last episode, I talked to you about how to create a legacy and the difference between billionaires, millionaires, and people that make $30,000 a year. And in this episode, I'm going to talk about the way to do that, which is cultivating leadership. So what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to talk both about what a leader really is. I'm going to talk about how to become a leader. And in the process, I want to teach you how to create other leaders. You know, online, I've done several $100 million in sales. And in the process of doing that, the way that I've done that sales is not by doing them all myself. It's by cultivating sales leadership and marketing leadership and replacing myself to where other people can take over tasks, and some of them can do a lot of those tasks better than I can. And I'm going to teach you how to do that in this video, and I'm going to teach you how to do it in a way that's in alignment with your vision. And so let's get into some principles and let's get into some concepts that's going to help you step into leadership first. You know, I remember a long time ago, I was listening to an audio by a guy named Jeff Olson. He was doing a training for a company I was in called Prepaid Legal, and this is called a power training. It was a 4-hour audio CD set where he was teaching the fundamentals of how to build a really big network marketing organization, which I was in that company at the time. I'm building as a rep. And, you know, this audio series really had a powerful impact on me. And I remember that, you know, he gave his own definition of leadership. And what he said was, you know, a leader isn't a cheerleader. A leader is somebody that makes it so other people do something that they wouldn't have done if you hadn't been there. So in other words, if you're a leader, you're going to get people to do something that they wouldn't have done if you hadn't been there. And that could go, you know, for positive or negative. And so if you're leading people, it means that because you exist and because you're exercising your leadership, they're doing things that they wouldn't have done if you hadn't been there. Your life and what you're doing is creating a change in their life. And hopefully that change is for the positive, and we'll talk about how to do that in this video. And so how do you become a leader? Somebody that impacts other people to make decisions. And how do you continue to grow leaders, which is going to be impacting people to continue to make decisions that get bigger, that get more powerful, and that make their life better over a period of time? Well, I'm going to go back and I'm going to start with vision. Okay, the first principle of creating leadership is to attract people that actually have a vision or are willing to cultivate a vision. And in order to attract people that have a vision, you've got to have a vision that's of a certain size. Now, before I get into this, I want to ask you a question. If you wanted to make, say, $50,000 a month, and let's say you were going to join an opportunity company, and you want to make $50,000 a month, and that your goal's up here, would you join a leader that only wanted to make $10,000 a month? You probably wouldn't. And the reason is because your vision, it doesn't fit inside their vision. Your vision is bigger than their vision. And so a lot of times what happens is you'll get involved with a leader, you'll get involved with a group of people, and your vision at one point or another will break through the seams of theirs. And when your vision becomes bigger than theirs, you no longer fit inside that vision. And when you no longer fit inside of a vision, you break through the seams of it, and you've got to go and you've got to do something else. And so I had this experience back in 2010, actually. I was in a company, I was the #1 producer in for years, and I never intended on stopping to do this company, but what happened is my vision just became bigger than the vision of the owners. And because my vision became bigger, I couldn't find a way of operating inside this space. And so in order to create my vision, which was to empower people to create a lifestyle business on a scale that literally transforms the whole world, because my vision got bigger than that, I ended up just creating it on my own. And when I created it on my own, I no longer had time to build this other business, and it ended up that I just totally stopped doing it. And I didn't even mean to do that. I just did that because my vision was bigger than the people's vision I was inside. So the first principle of attracting and maintaining leadership in an organization is to create a vision where, let's say this space represents your vision, your biggest leader is going to occupy a small percentage of that space. And what I mean by that is their entire vision is going to fit in a very small space in yours, because your vision is so encompassing that you can fit lots of leadership and lots of success. Now, in order to do that, you both have to create a big vision, and you've also got to maintain the creation of your vision and keep creating all the time. There's a really powerful principle that I learned, of course, the hard way in my life, like I do with most things, which is through hard experience. And that's, I'm a really powerful creator, and I believe you are as well. I believe that everybody in their life creates at different levels, but I believe that you can take what you have the ability to do and you can create on a massive, massive, massive world-changing scale. And so whenever I focus on something, I create more of it. And so what happens, what happened to me is multiple times in my life, I've set a really clear vision. I've gone and I've worked all day and night for it. I've created it ultra fast because I'm a fast creator. And then I reach it. I'm like, what now, right? And so what happens is if you stop focusing on visions, you refer your attention back to what exists. And if something goes wrong with it, then you start focusing on problems. And if you're a creator and you start focusing on problems, what do you actually end up doing? You end up creating more problems. Now, if you have the ability to exponentially expand vision, then you have the ability also to exponentially create problems. And so what you want to do is you want to make sure that you're staying focused in a vision space, because people who have a vision, even if it does fit inside your vision, people with vision are attracted to vision. They're not attracted to a focus and a maintenance and fixing things and problems, right? So you want to stay in this space. And if you stay in the creation space, if you stay focused on what you're creating, you're going to continue to expand what you're creating and continue to map that into further and further places in time. And you're going to continue to attract leaders, and you're going to continue to be able to cultivate them. So let's get into next, when you've got people involved and when you've got, let's say it's employees, let's say it's staff, let's say it's independent affiliates or independent distributors, or let's say it's just your own sales team. How do you actually cultivate leadership within that structure? Well, there's a bunch of ways of doing it. The first way, the first step in it is you've got to have a clear path all the way from the start of your business all the way to where somebody wants to go. If you don't have that all the way mapped out and you only have it mapped out to part of where they want to go, there's going to be a point at time where, because they're unclear on what to do, they're just going to continue to maintain, they're going to go into problems, and they're going to start a destructive state in their own business. So if you have a path, you want that path to go all the way from zero all the way up to the maximum capacity that your business has to offer. So in my case, that would be getting somebody to make $100,000 or $250,000 a month, which is a huge amount of money and unimaginable to a lot of people. But people start to be able to imagine things out here when you get them through the small breakthroughs here, and they start to build, and there's more breakthroughs, and they start to build, and there's more breakthroughs, and they start to build and more they start to be able to paint this path out, and they start to be able to see this future more clearly. So if all you have mapped out is this future that goes to here and then it stops, what's going to happen is those people are going to get stuck, and they're going to eventually leave and get burnt out or leave your organization. And you want to be able to continue to cultivate them. And people really do, they want to work with one team. They want to work in a long-term vision, but you've got to be able to provide that path. You know, why has corporate America lost a lot of their best people who have left and started other businesses, or have left and they've done something else, or they're looking for a home-based business? It's because people really don't want to sit in a cubicle 40 hours a week and all day and night be working through on some task, and the only way they can advance in the company is if their boss dies, right? That's really it in a lot of corporations. They need to be able to have a structured path. Otherwise, what happens is either they stop dreaming or they leave, right? And if you want to keep them around, they'll continue to stay, they'll continue to grow, they'll continue to make more money, and they're going to want to continue to be mentored by you. So how do you do that? Well, you got to create a structured path, and that path must be based on reliable skills. And so let's talk about that. Let's talk about some of the things you could do. How do you actually, if you have a skill to teach people, how do you actually teach them that skill and transfer it effectively? Well, what I do when I'm looking at something like skill development or systems development is I want to look at the best models for the world. And to take something like a skill and transfer it, you want to look at the most complex skills that people get really good at and say, how do they actually learn that skill, and how does that skill effectively transfer? Well, it doesn't really matter if you take language learning, whether you're learning Spanish or Russian or English, or whether you take something like a really complex skill like martial arts. I study martial arts, and you ask, how do the best people in the world get so good, and how do people effectively transfer and help other people get good? Well, if you take something like language learning, it's a proven thing, right? This is proven through lots of studies that it takes somebody 700 hours of actually speaking a language with feedback to develop what's called a fluency network in the brain. So in other words, after somebody is actively speaking a language for 700 hours, right, they start to develop verbal fluency. And what that is it's the ability the brain has to creatively use all the information in that whole language and be able to flexibly interchange words and construct sentences on the fly, and to have everybody around them at least understand them. It's not mastery. Fluency is not mastery. It's proficiency in the sense that you can creatively use the information. It takes 700 hours. It doesn't matter whether you go through Rosetta Stone. It doesn't matter if you have a mentor. It doesn't matter if you're speaking. It takes 700 hours of practicing a language to develop a fluency network in the brain. That's how long it takes based on thousands of scientific studies. Well, that's also true in martial arts. If you take something like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, right, where I like to use that as an example of martial art because I study a different martial art, so I don't do this. And the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu has a very large network of proven people who have the ability to perform a skill. If they have a certain rank, they can perform the skill. Whereas a lot of other martial arts, they have people that, they can know the kata, but they can't use it, right? If they get in a real situation, they can't actually use the art. But Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, they consistently do. And how do they do that? Well, what they do is the same thing boxers do, and boxers also have very consistent good fighters. They make you work with a resisting opponent who's giving you real-time feedback, and once you reach about 500 to 700 hours, you develop a fluency with the ability to perform Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and you could use it against a real opponent, just like learning a language, right? So if you have a skill in your business, right, you got to realize it does take people a while to be able to become fluent with that skill. So if you want to have a progressive skill-based business that can grow predictively, that's sustainable, you've got to make that skill that you're teaching, because it takes a long time to really be able to gain proficiency with it. You want to use something that's an evergreen skill that people can learn now or they can learn in a year. Because if a part-time person, they're getting involved in your business, or maybe even somebody's doing it full-time, if they're doing it 2 hours a day, that means it's going to take them in 2 hours a day about a year and a half to gain a fluency level with that ability that you're teaching them. And so if you're teaching them something that changes every 50 hours, it's going to take them a very long time to be able to get proficient at it. And so what you want is you want to have a business that, like a franchise, has a very simple building block, and that simple building block is built into a replicatable skill that's evergreen, that continues to operate no matter what changes with technology, no matter what changes with what's going on in the external environment. And that enables you to do something that's going to really be able to build a skill-based transformational leader. But then what you want to do is you want to map that skill through levels of progress, to where when people hit those levels of progression, there's something next and there's a plan to get good at what's next. And that maps through all the way to the maximum income that people want to hit that get in your organization. If somebody gets in and they're really serious about creating an even bigger income, you're going to need to have a path all the way up to that income. And the way that you really demonstrate that's possible is you do that by doing it yourself. You know, the max I think I've made here so far as an affiliate in Empower Network, as an example, as an affiliate, I think my biggest month here was $500,000 in a month, right? Now, I don't say that because I think that everybody's going to do it. I say that because I've made a lot of money doing what I tell people to do. The reason I've done that is because I want to be able to map people through those skills, and the only way I can do that effectively is by demonstrating it and moving there in front of them and showing them the path, and then breaking it into a modular sequence of behaviors that gets them all the way there. Does that make sense? So if you have a skill, the way that you transfer it's really simple. You need to get people, number one, preparation. Number two, you want them to take action with that skill in a very specific way. Number three, they need to be in an environment where they can get feedback on that skill, because people can't see things that they don't understand. And so if you're teaching something, for example, like martial arts, right? Somebody might be doing something and they have no idea that they're putting their arm in a certain way that they could just instantly get into an arm lock like that, or they can instantly get submitted like that, right? I do Wing Chun, and I could just touch somebody's hands and I know exactly how I can hit them, and they can't stop it. Well, they can't stop it because they can't see that. They don't have the ability to perceive something they don't understand. So if you don't have a feedback environment, what happens is people get locked up in progress and they don't know why it's not working, and nobody can tell them that it's not working. They end up just getting frustrated, and rather than progressing into a 100,000 month earner, they end up quitting, right? Whereas you can really take a normal person, you can help them develop the life that they want to create. And so you need to have feedback. So what do you do again? You prepare, you take action, you have a feedback environment, then what do you do with the feedback? Well, what you do with the feedback is you re-strategize. So if you want really fast skill development, you do it just like you do with the language. You prepare to speak the language, you speak the language, then you get feedback on the language, and then you map another plan. You say, okay, I'm going to pronounce my words a little bit differently. Okay, I'm going to roll my tongue a little bit more. I'm going to practice that. And then you repeat the cycle. You do it again and again and again and again and again and again and again. Now, feedback formed in a fast cycle develops rapid skill. And so what we do is we have to develop leaders a structured path to move people through sequenced levels of behavior that will wind up, period, if they go all the way through it, at a six-figure income that's very predictable and very sustainable. Now, that's what we do. My question is what are you going to do, right? So if you have, once again, a vision that fits your leaders, number two, right, that vision continues to fit them because you're continuing to work on it, because you're continuing to focus on creation, right? Number three, you have a path for them. And number four, you have a system for them to build the skills within that path. You need that same structure of skill development through every point in the entire sequence of behavior, mapping a chain of action all the way out to the highest income level you can create, the highest success level you can create. Now, if you do that, you're going to continue to focus people, you're going to continue to develop people, and you're going to continue to build people to the next step. That is how you cultivate leaders. There is not a mystery to it. Leaders are going to be attracted because of who you are, because of your vision, because of how you treat other people, right? And all these things. Creating a vision is a skill. Maintaining a vision is actually a skill, right? The way that you communicate with people, the way that you communicate that vision is a skill, right? The way that you are going to attract people that are going to want to work with you forever, right? That's a skill. the way that people are going to watch this video and they're just going to put their email in, they're going to get to the next page every single time they see it. It's a skill that I've got. I've developed a skill of communicating a message with people like you. And so you see this and you just want to do it. And I'm not saying that you have to put your email in, because the reality is you don't have to, right? I'm just saying that you're going to see this, and most of the people who watch this, the smart ones, right, who really want to develop themselves, they do want to see what's on the next page, and they want to claim those bonuses. They want to get access to the audios because they realize that part of what cultivates leadership is actually permanent skill development. That's exactly why we have this daily shortcut. This is a personal development system that we developed to support our organization, but also to really just put great energy in the marketplace by always giving people like you who are watching more value than the money you could possibly pay us. Because I know if I continue to do that, that is a principle, if you study the book Influence, called reciprocity, where just by giving that energy, right, I'm going to give you more being here than you could ever possibly pay me. I will help transform your life. We'll help transform your life through this show, right? So even this show is a demonstration of leadership. It's a demonstration of consistency. It's a demonstration of transformational skill. So right now, here's what you do next. If you really want to develop your skill, we've got a workbook below that's going to help you do just that. So I want you to scroll below. First thing I want you to do, write a real detailed comment. Tell me what you like best about this episode. The next thing is scroll up, put your email in, say, give me the daily shortcut. On the next page, I've got a PDF and I've got an audio. And we actually have a system in order to be able to help you create the results that you want to create in your life. Right now, scroll down, put in your email, click that thing and put in your best email, the one that you check, because we're only going to send you what you want, which is transformational information. And if you want to work with us, you can reach out and say, hey, invite me into the inner circle, invite me into the Lifestyle Society, help me create the results that I'm going to create all through my future, and we'll map out a path. And it's not going to be the 40-year plan. It's going to be like the 2-week plan. All right. So right now, scroll down, put in your email. I'll see you on the next page, and I'll look forward to helping you reach a new level of transformation in your life.